Well, thank you very much for tuning in. This is a special sit-down with the captain of the industry, and we're talking about the energy sector. We're glad to be speaking to the captain of the industry, and that is no other than the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of the Kenya Electricity Generating Company, Kengen. And as you may well be aware, Kengen did issue their rights, the cash call that happened a couple of days ago, and we want to understand what is the status so far and what are we looking into Kengen going forward. And his name is Engineer Albert Mugo. My name is Zawadi Mdibo. Thank you so much, Engineer, for your time.
Yes, thank you.
Now, I want us to begin by looking at the reason as to why Kengen saw it fit at this moment in time to go out to the public and make this cash call.
The rights issue is a process whereby a company goes to its shareholders and asks shareholders to take rights in form of buying additional shares in the company and increasing their equity holding in the company. So in this instance, Kengen has got a pipeline of projects that we want to do in the next 5 years or so. Our current installed capacity is 1,618 megawatts. We want to raise that by another 720 megawatts in the next 5 years. 630 of that will be geothermal, and about 90 megawatts will be wind. And in order for us to do that, we need the shareholders to inject additional capital. That is why we are doing a rights issue.
Okay, having talked to us about the reason as to why this cash call was important, possibly what is the status update? What are we looking at as far as the response and reaction from members of public and investors?
We want to thank the government for agreeing to take its shareholding, the 70% that it holds, which amounts to 20.2 billion Kenya shillings, which leaves then 8.6 billion Kenya shillings to be raised from the other shareholders. And from what we gauge, there's a lot of interest. So we feel quite confident that the 30% that we're expecting to raise from the other shareholders will be taken. So when we close the rights issue on 10th of June, and we know how many right shares have been taken in form of the right, there will be another window of 7 days where we will be saying so many shares have not been taken, and we'll be offering that to non-shareholders who would be interested to buy those shares. Now, those shares will be at a minimum of 100,000 shares. So we're also targeting a bit of institutional investors or individuals who want to take a minimum of 100,000, just in case there will be any leftovers.
Now, I'm looking at the 30% shares on offer. Should there be shareholders that are already on board that may not take them up? Who are we looking at bringing on board? Do we have any specific inquiries? Is it the reason why we've seen a lot of activity on international road shows to bring them on board? And what duration of time are we looking at?
What happens is that when you have a project like this, raising money, you want to talk to fund managers, and you appreciate that fund managers manages funds for different people, for individuals, for pension funds, and for all manner of people who have got money, and then they ask fund managers to manage it on their behalf. So basically, we are not targeting any specific individuals, but in talking to the fund managers and telling them the Kengen story and what we want to do with this money, we are trying to get the prospective investors to understand that when they put their money in Kengen, they're putting it in a safe company, in a safe place where they can expect good returns, and therefore stimulate the interest in wanting to take the rights that they have in this company. Yes.
Possibly you could just mention to us what duration of time are we looking at from after the elapse of the June 10th deadline You mentioned you have a week, about 7 days, to look at who or how much has not been taken up. Is it the only time frame non-shareholders have, or do we see an extension going forward?
The non-shareholders, by the way, are not just restricted to that 1 week. Even as of now, non-shareholders can make their interest known and say, I'll be interested in buying so many shares. The only point also is that there are some people who, without knowing how much to take, they may not have an interest. So that's why we are saying after June 10th, when we know all the shares that are not taken, those then who know who want specific, then they can come in during that 1 week.
Well, after the rights issue and you have the monies that you expect to raise, what next?
Now, once we raise the money in the rights issue, we have already identified specific projects that we're doing. And actually, some of those projects are very advanced. For example, the next major project we are doing is Okaria 5, 140 megawatts, where we are getting some money from JICA of Japan. And this project is already at tender stage. We are closing the tenders on June 23rd, after which we start the evaluation process. And we believe that we'll be able to award these tenders by October. And so this year that project will start. And within 27 months to 30 months, we'll have the entire project commissioned.
I think finally for us, we would like to understand an institution of this nature has so much financial commitments. And over time, we have seen a lot of activity. Why would an investor still be confident in investing in Kengen, knowing very well this is a business, it could go either way?
Well, we would like to thank the shareholders very much for the support that they've given to Kengen. It's now exactly 10 years since we did the initial public offer in 2006, and that was a very successful IPO, where very many Kenyans bought shares in Kengen when government sold the 30% shareholding, and we're very grateful for that support that we got the shareholders. And following that IPO, Kengen was able to also do a public infrastructure board offer in 2009. And we got very tremendous support from the Kenyans, where we raised 25 billion Kenya shillings in one of the very biggest ever public board. And that enabled us to start doing power projects which today have enabled Kenya to have the stable power that it has. We started by applying that money to do the 120 megawatts KPF 3 project, which we successfully commissioned in 2011. So as soon as we got the money from the people, we applied it to do that project, and within a record 14 months, we brought the project online.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate you for your time, and we wish you the very best.
Thank you.
Now, I was speaking to the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of the Kenya Electricity Generating Company, Kengen, and that is no other than Engineer Albert Mugo, talking to us about the status update of the cash call, that is the rights issue that seeks to raise close to 29 billion Kenyan shillings in money that is required for development projects that are lined up for the next 5 years. We appreciate you for tuning in to Inside Business. This is Zawadi Mdibo. You're watching Inside Business, the last word in business.